folks, my name is Erin, and today in the Cache, how to protect your children online. It's 2025. Do you know where your children are today? Let's discuss. Stay tuned. In the late 1960s, there was a public service announcement that would basically come on television and say,
PM, do you know where your children are?
do you know where your children are? I'm asking that question today in 2025 as we have a digital landscape that is massive and at the same time feels like the Wild Wild West. Why? Because there are few protections that allow us to be online and have our privacy too. And at the same time, there are places where bad actors can harm your children if you don't have the right protections in place on their phones and on their gadgets, their tablets, and all of the things that exist. So today, I want to show you all of the different settings that exist on some of these platforms that help you to just make sure your children are safe. And at the same time, maybe you want to monitor your children's activity, or maybe you just don't want a bad actor to get to them. We're going to talk about how to set up their phones and their gadgets and their platforms so that you don't have to worry about this. But first, I have to show you the digital landscape and what that looks like. So as I mentioned, think about the internet as this massive internet superhighway, and along that superhighway, you have all of these cities, towns, basements, you name it. All of these places exist. But because this is a sprawling place that's still growing, there aren't exactly any police on the information superhighway. There are only like sheriffs in these towns and in these cities to actually protect your children. That's your job. So I'm going to show you just how to do that. Stay tuned. Now, I'm sure you've heard of some of the larger platforms that exist. I'm talking about Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, even Roblox. But have you heard of these other places such as Character.ai or Discord? These are just some of the few places that your children may be participating and having conversations with people. But let's go through some of the metropolitan cities, some of the larger places that exist online. First, there's Facebook. There's something for everyone. It's like a hub where you have bustling business districts, a bunch of Facebook groups, and a place where you can debate and basically share news on your post. Then there's YouTube. It's a media-rich city where there's always a crowd watching, commenting, and creating. Then there's Instagram. Instagram is like the fashion district of the internet. It's vibrant, lots of aesthetic, all the culture. This is basically where lifestyle inspiration exists. TikTok to me is like New York City. There is something for everyone and you never know where you're gonna find it. It's fast, it's dynamic, and the trends are always changing, and with a flip or swipe, you never know what you're gonna get. There's also Amazon. So Amazon is basically like your shopping district where you might find the mall, right? It's the go-to destination for commerce, essentially. Now let's talk about some of the smaller towns that exist on this information superhighway. There's X. I don't think I have to say much about X. Most people know what X is. It used to be known as Twitter, and Twitter was like the public town square. Well, here's the problem with having just one public town square. Without a sheriff, it's bound that bad things are going to happen. So there, it no longer feels like a safe space. And that's why you have seen places like Blue Sky, Mastodon, Threads pop up to basically create more town squares for people to talk. There's also Reddit. Reddit is like your quirky college town where you can get into niche hobbies, you can check reviews, trends, and even have intellectual debate. There's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the business district of the information superhighway. Clean cut, it's polished. You don't get into too much political stuff, although, some people would argue LinkedIn is becoming Facebook. That's a topic for another discussion. But this is where you share your industry insights and become a thought leader, essentially. Now, Discord is like a small neighborhood that caters to specific interests or specific social groups, right? I consider myself like a hippie, and so I would go to Discord and find all my hippies in a certain group. It's private, it's close-knit, but it's definitely for the tech savvy. Now, there are some smaller villages along our information superhighway. Substack or Medium, those are basically quiet literary hubs. You're gonna have your bookshops there, your special cafe. It's a place where thinkers basically go to publish long form content. There's also Telegram and Signal. Now, these are private places off the main freeway, right? They basically offer you secure conversations and also niche group discussions. Now, for teens, people who I like to consider basically over the age of 13 but under the age of 18, there are places like Roblox. Imagine a city that basically has a bunch of games and a lot of social places for people. Kids can build their dream worlds, but strangers can also slip into these virtual worlds as well. Now, Snapchat has been around forever, but I think most teens would describe Snapchat as the jungle. Things appear, they vanish. It's the perfect place for secrecy, basically, which means there's a lot of risk. Lastly, there's a place called Character AI. Character.ai is like a storytelling village. It's like where kids can basically go to role play. You've heard of cosplay before? Character.ai is like the digital version of that. It's creative, yes. You can do a lot of fantasy there, but it's also a place where there can also be blurred boundaries. Now let's talk about the roads that connect all of these things. The highways that connect these digital hubs or these proverbial towns and cities is essentially search engines. Things like Google, ChatGPT, and even things like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. But I will say this, Gen Z is basically using TikTok as search engine now. So with all of these cities and towns, public and private, along this information superhighway, how do we protect our kids online? Especially knowing that it is the wild, wild west. We have to first start by teaching them how to navigate these highways safely. And that starts with you. I want your children to be able to recognize when something doesn't feel right and be able to say something when something doesn't feel right. So as you guide them through these new cities and towns on the information superhighway, I want you to have the guidance to be able to trust and have transparency on your children's devices. My name is Erin. I want you to stay safe, stay informed, and stay tuned for more.